Hello, my name is Gary Miller. I'm a research entomologist with the USDA's Systematic Entomology Laboratory. I'm standing beside one of the world's largest collection of microscope slides of aphids. Each one of these drawers contains hundreds of these slides. However, other arthropods are also prepared on microscope slides. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a slide of a diaspidid or armored scale for identification or examination purposes. So let's go over what you will need to make a permanent microscope slide. You'll need a set of micro tools, a series of dishes for transfers, a slide centering stage, microscope slides and cover slips, your chemicals for clearing, staining, and dehydration, permanent mounting medium, in this case Canada balsam, a hot plate or warming tray, a good light source, such as this fiber optic light source, and of course a good microscope, such as this binocular microscope. Here we have a colony of armored scales on an orchid leaf, and I'm using a microscalpel to pry up the test. That's the cover of the armored scale. The armored scale females are underneath that test. I'm just prying up a little bit more here. Various females under there. So we want to remove one of these females and put them in a 10% KOH solution. I'm going to work on this one, moving it off the leaf surface. There, I've got it. Now into the KOH. We'll go back for another specimen. See if we can get this one. I'm having a hard time with this, so what I like to do then, if in this case, is just put the tip of the microscalpel in KOH and it acts like a suction cup. You can pick the female up and transfer it. Here are some of the females that I've moved to the KOH solution. You can see the one in the direct center is one that's a live female. The others are a little bit older. Now we're ready for the staining process. Here on the right is a dish that is filled with a double stain solution that contains acid fusin and lignin pink, and this is available commercially. So once our specimens have been in KOH for a little while, you want to transfer these to the staining solution. I'm just getting the female there and on the spatula and move it over to the double stain solution. Can also, while it's in the KOH solution, you also want to be pumping, if you want to pump some of the contents, cavity contents out. And again, transfer this right to the double stain. Sometimes you'll see a bubbling action, the reaction with the KOH and the double stain. Now we're ready for the next step. Our next step is a part of a dehydration series. This is 70% alcohol, ethyl alcohol. And we're going to get get the scales, get up underneath them, and just move them right over to the 70%. Worked on several females here, just making the transfers. Again, sometimes they want to stick to the spatula. You just kind of work it back and forth, and the female should come off. Now our next dehydration stage is 95% ethanol. I'm just adding a little bit to the dish here. And again, similar to the previous step, we're just going to make the transfers from 70% into the 95. There's a lot of stain left in those 70% specimens, and you'll see this is part of the destaining process as well. Here's our first one. We've moved other ones over. We get the last ones here. Now we're ready for the final dehydration step, which involves clove oil. So we want to add clove oil to this dish on the right. And make our transfers from the 95% into the clove oil. Just get up underneath the specimen, place it on the clove oil. Surface tension differences, the specimens will skate right off the spatula usually. And then the last one. I hear I'm having another difficult time with this one. Oh, there it goes. Now our last step is the actual slide mounting step. Here we use Canada Balsam on a microscope slide. Underneath our microscope slide, I have a stage mounting guide, just a cardboard guide where I place some dots that allow me to center the specimen. I'm just moving the balsam around so that you have nearly flat surface on that balsam. Getting underneath the specimen with my spatula. Sometimes when your specimens are small, it's a little more difficult to get them on the spatula. And this takes a little practice as well. But we have the specimen. Now I can place it right into the balsam, just sort of drop it down and then move the spatula from underneath it. At this point, I want to make sure I get the specimen centered, so I'm using the micro probe just to move that directly on the dot, that centering dot. I like to make sure that the specimen's right on the bottom, kind of attached right to the glass. And now again, I'm just sort of moving the balsam around. We bring in a cover slip, and that's applied directly on top of the balsam. Try to get that perfectly centered too. Just drop it on. And you can kind of just tap it down, push the balsam down. You want to get that balsam to spread out evenly underneath the cover slip. This is working pretty good. You can see the balsam starting to flow. It's almost out to the edge. One of the tricks that I've learned is you can take just a little bit of clove oil on your spatula if it hasn't reached the edge completely, and just bring it right over to the edge like I'm doing here. And that'll move the balsam completely around the cover slip. And there we have it. Finally, you will want to label your slides and place them in a drying oven, such as the one we have here. We keep the temperature set at about 30 degrees centigrade. And this is important because it allows the mounting medium to set. The length of time required in the oven depends upon the thickness of the microscope slide mount. I hope this video has helped you prepare a microscope slide, and with practice and patience, you'll be well on your way to developing this important skill.